So hi, welcome to Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with
Bert Hoover from Hooveriii.
and we have some questions to say about the upcoming album Pointe. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Thank you. I feel pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The album
Hell yeah.
the album is awesome. It rocks so hard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hell yeah. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
I guess the two kind of came together simultaneously. The art was actually already it had already been made, and we were using it as kind of a placeholder on like our private link. And I have a tendency of like picking a piece of art that I like and getting too attached to it after associating it with the private link for too long. And in this case, it was available for us to use, and then we were able to commission the artist Timothy Boubet, who sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. We were able to commission like a few other pieces to kind of complete like where we thought that cover could go. Like, as each single has been like a different landscape, and that's something we've been into. But as for the title Point, it's 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 kind of like has a bit of a dual meaning. You know, it's purposefully vague. Like we like to keep things a bit ambiguous, as for folks to draw their own conclusion if they're really into that kind of deep listen, and or however you would call that. But no, I guess it's kind of like a point and a purpose, but also like reaching a peak, which ties in with the album art. And also like, are we peaking with this one? Like, is it downhill from here? Who knows? But yeah, I would say the meaning varies depending on the day which you ask me.
Yeah, a lot of different meanings you gave us. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for the album?
This was an interesting one. A lot of these songs came from demos that I had put together kind of on my own, and changed dramatically once introduced into a band setting. But yeah, I'll usually have like a few blueprints for songs, and then we get together and expand on them. This one was done like kind of more with smaller groups at a time. So each song kind of had a different genesis in a different way, which is like not a usual thing we do. Everything kind of like some songs were written as a band, like with everybody kind of like in the same room together from day one to the finished thing. Some songs were written with me, the bassist and the drummer, and some with me, the bassist and keyboard. Owen Barrett was the drummer primarily on this record. Casimir Bluk is the bassist, and James Novick really carried the keys on this one, at least in terms of like writing. And yeah.
So what song off this album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
That took the longest to kind of get together was probably The Ship That I Sail. They all were pretty quick once we got like the ball rolling. The Ship That I Sail is one that we did like collaboratively with like the lineup from the previous record, which the only person I haven't named yet is Gabe Flores and Gabriel Salomon. So they were all that was like the longest, because the single version is 2 minutes and some change. The record version is like 10 minutes. So it was like and the tracked version of the 10-minute version is like kind of like 6 minutes of the same thing over and over again. So it was a lot of like, do we want to like jam in this part? Do we want to compose something a little more straightforward? Do we want to like get really far out? There's a version of Ship That I Sail that gets real crazy in the second half, and it was just a little too, it like disrupted the flow of the record in a way that was, I'm all for getting weird, but it was a little jarring. And maybe will be released one day, but the version now is a little more like four on the floor structured, and it's kind of what we wanted when we went into making this record. But that's, mixing that took forever because it's so many like parts, and like, do we want this here, do we want that there, and so on. And I think as a result, it's it has become kind of my favorite, maybe because it's the one that I had the least sort of like structural command over. So a lot of the other songs were songs that I had like previously demoed, like I said before. And Ship That I Sail, like I really like when we get ones that we all contribute to, and I think like everyone's playing like really strong. And I actually only sing on the first, like the single version. That's like one of the few songs on the record where like I just sing. I didn't track guitar, not till the second half, which hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. And the single version of that song in particular was what kind of hooked me on this album, and like was the selling point for to schedule this. So I like that song a lot.
Thank you. And you've heard the whole thing?
Yeah, heard the whole album, heard the whole song.
Okay, yeah.
How'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener be the opener, closer be a closer? Did you shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
I get real intense about track listing and sequencing. I love it, and I think it can make or break a record. And it's like which sequencing is what has taken me long to get into albums that are classics that I have a harder time with because of more like, here's a bunch of songs and a lack of a flow.
Yeah.
So while we're recording, I'm having track listing in mind. So when we go back into the studio, like for mixing, we know what's going to go where into what. So we're able to create transitions if we feel it's necessary, and we're able to sort of have an understanding of the whole thing together. So I start that like once we start like demoing on our iPhones in the practice space.
Oh yeah, I love that there are artists, you know, in the 21st century in 2023 that still give a fuck about the track list. You know, because we're big into that with like how an album flows, but there's a lot of artists that, you know, it's a playlist in a single game, so they just throw it together.
Yeah,
and you know, to each their own. But you know, I think that's just, I don't know, like you're trying to create a record should feel like an arc, and I think that's important as a whole. I'm a record guy, not so much a playlist or a single guy. So like. Even when I go for a run, I'll like put on a record and instead of like, you know, jams or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating this record?
Oh man, it was like a year ago. Well, it was interesting because it was like a bit of a transitional period within the band. We had just done like a lot of touring. And I guess that was for Water for the Frogs. So that was 2020. Wait, no. I'm not going to bother with dates.
It's all good.
For years. No, so yeah, we had just done a lot of touring for Water for the Frogs. So we were kind of in that like brain space, and like we already had Round of Applause done, and coming out of the holidays, I really wanted to just start working on the next one. I like to set dates and just like go from there. So we did that, and then that was COVID was still kind of a thing. So like touring was sort of like, it was like Omicron, I think, had just like kind of happened. So we were like, oh, I guess nothing's happening again. And we just started working on it. Like I said, I had some demos that some are older, some were newer at the time. We have an archive that we like to get into. So yeah, I don't know. Just we did it weird. Instead of like booking like, a week in the studio tracking everything and then like sitting on it, mixing, etc. We did like a couple days, like we did like 2 days of tracking and then we sat on it. And then a month later we did like another day of overdubs. Hated all that, went back. This was like an extensive day at a time process. And then we had a few band members leave that summer. And so we decided we wanted to add, the record wasn't flowing the way we wanted to, so we went and tracked more songs with a different drummer. And that one's the game is one that we did with that's Shaughnessy Starr, who's actually plays on our first and second record. He plays drums on that, and I mean he's throughout the whole thing, but that one was like the big one we gathered from that session. And yeah, I mean it was just like a 6-month process. I'm not really into doing stuff like that, but I get it that I'm glad we did, because the result we got was way better than what we had and what I was ready to just be like, fuck it, and putting it out.
Yeah.
I'm a bit more impulsive.
Fair enough.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you, as much as you didn't like it, you were able to get that time and get something that you're truly proud of versus just like, fuck it, let's put it out because I want this over with.
Yeah.
I'm growing up like everyone else. So
so how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in the car with friends, in dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
Well, I think this is probably our least party album. I don't know. I don't know, man. I guess it depends on how someone like how I listen to like a new record, like that one oh Tricks Point Never just released like a new album that like on Friday, and I think listening to it in a sitting is ideal. That's how I absorb new music. I kind of did one on Tricks Point Never dirty and like had to like switch halfway to a doctor's appointment and then jump back into it headphone style, which that record's like, talk about like sequencing and flow. It's like very dependent on like a one go, which I think is kind of incredible. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not that long of a record. I say just throw some headphones on, go for a little night walk.
Hell yeah. All right.
Absolutely. Sounds good. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
What's the point?
Damn.
That's good.
That's fucking brilliant.
A call back to the beginning of the interview. I like that. So in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
Oh man, no, that's all on you, man. I don't want it to bring my baggage to your life any more than I already am when you're listening to our music. So, take what you want from it or don't.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So are you able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments from the creation of this album, positive or negative?
Oh man, we argued so much making this record. It was hilarious. And not like a real argue, like you've been in a band with people for like 8 years. You're gonna argue. This rock specifically, I wrote some of these the genesis of these on piano, and I like don't know how to play piano, so a lot of my tracking was on the piano, and that was then pulled from the record, and we added Paco Casanova, who's playing with us now, but on the record plays most of the piano, and anytime there's like a ripping keys part, it's him, like it's not me. And there was one song, This Rock, where we had, this is gonna get real nerdy, but there's the third hit on the piano, we were arguing whether it should like, land on, I don't know, like I'm probably messing this up, but like the 1 or the 2, of the beat.
Yeah.
And that was like this hour, like we wasted an hour in the studio being like, sounds like shit, So that's probably was the most like, I mean, there were like vocal things that sucked for a while that we were changing. Like Dreaming, I wrote that song and tried to sing it, and it just didn't work. And I decided when we went back towards the latter sessions, I was like, we're gonna flip it. And Anna Wallace, who sings on most of the record, it's like, you're gonna sing lead on this song. It's gonna sound way better. It's gonna carry that sort of angelic thing. And when I'm singing it, it sounds whiny and not good. And that was something that like totally flipped the song and made it work all of a sudden. But those 2 moments were a little like pulling your hair out, being like, what the fuck's not working here?
Yeah,
absolutely
makes sense.
So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
Oh man. Okay, well, if I'm at like a Buc-ee's or a Wally's, I'm getting like a pulled pork or something like that. That's for sure. Any chance you can get like real food at a gas station, go for it.
Absolutely.
But like if I'm just at like a Love's, what's my go-to? I love the chili lemon lays.
Oh, damn.
Those are that's my chip of choice. Yeah, I'd probably rock that before rocking like Chex Mix or Trail Mix or anything healthier.
That's fair enough. I don't mess with the chili limon, but just the straight limon Lay's chips are fucking so good.
Banging. Hell yeah. So on the topic of food, if the project was a dish, what dish would the project be and why?
Like a I don't know, like an appetizer sampler.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of contributes something different. It all like works together, or like I guess like a salad is the healthier option. You have all these ingredients kind of mixing together, and the best bites are with everything. And I think that's kind of how the band is. Like, it's not as good with just me as it is with everyone who's in it at the time. I'm gonna go with a salad.
That's good.
Salad.
You pulled that
Beautiful.
together. I love it. And for the last couple questions, we're going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with drink?
We just went for our basis for Kaz's birthday. We went to Taylor's Steakhouse in K-Town. We go with like prime rib and like gin martini dry.
Oh,
right. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Awesome. And if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
One fiction world. Oh man. I guess put me in a Roger Dean painting,
Dude. Hell yeah.
The one that's behind you, or do you have one in particular?
This one seems pretty cool.
Okay.
Seems chill as hell.
Yeah.
Seems good.
Good weather. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good views.
Sure. So I've not asking the last question. Every single person that we've spoken to has said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
I want to say like mustard.
Oh, yeah. Good ass color.
Yeah. So as I said, that's all questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
We have a record called Pointe coming out on Friday the 13th of October 2023, and now we're going on tour across the US with Mudhoney. We're supporting them on a full US run. So I don't know. Check check the dates. They're on our bands in town and our Instagram and wherever you can find that stuff.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sounding. It's been Bert from Hooveriii, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.